Honorable guest, dear Rajesh, HRDI, Gopio and one and all, a very good afternoon and a happy new year to all. And I'm very glad that we are starting this year with a good cause that Rajesh has brought out. I'm delighted to listen to the speakers since morning about all the active acts and the works they are doing globally for the Indians at various levels. Excuse me. Rajesh has his HRA team are striving hard in raising their voice for the human rights violations of Indians globally, apart from the socio-cultural and the economic benefits that we are from the Indian diaspora. It's also the need of the heart to talk about the certain ground realities where in many cases the basic rights of our Indians living abroad is being violated or simply denied. In present context, most of the developed countries as well as the third world countries are democratic republic, including majority of the third world countries which are democratic. But there is a pocket of countries which are ruled by monarchy with the royal family as a state. Its constitution is based on Sharia law, and most of the laws and the rights and the liberty of the citizens need to conform to the provisions of the Sharia law and is not in accordance with the modern democratic norms. Even after the 1948 Universal Declaration of the Human Rights, most of these Muslim countries, they argue that they cannot follow these human rights because it was not incompatible with the Islamic value system and the culture. And just because of these West Asian countries, I am talking about the Gulf countries, Gulf Cooperation Council as well as the West Asian countries, they have gained the top position among the world's 15 worst regimes of human rights violations. And in that, Saudi Arabia is leading in the violation of human rights. And here I am going to talk about more than 6.5 million of Indians who are living in these Gulf countries, who are mostly unskilled, semi-skilled, who migrate under the immigration check record category, ECR category. That means they are below 10 standard, and they are migrating mostly to the construction sectors in a cyclic manner every year. It's not that they go there and settle there permanently. They go on a contractual basis with the dreams of good employment, higher wages, income, better lifestyle, etc. And at the end, they are lost in despair because of the ground realities which are very harsh to assimilate and to digest. Under the constitution of these monarchies, there is no mention of freedom of expression, or freedom of information, or freedom of association or assembly, which means that the right to form a political party or to contest a government policy or to have free association in public form is forbidden by the government. More important, the lack of free expression means that the press will remain completely under the control of this government. As in the earlier conferences I had presented, I had discussed briefly about major human rights violations that is happening in the Gulf countries that is faced by the Indian migrants, which including lost identities. Soon the Indians enter those countries, their passports are being confiscated, they're kept with their employers, and the mystery of whereabouts, and they were taken to places where they don't know at all. Most of them, their employers, in the contract they give the address of the employers, which is most written in Arabic, which these ECR people, which these laborers, they couldn't read, and they were taken to places where they lose their identity. And the major thing is exploitation by the recruiting agents and the employers, and other violations including unsafe working conditions, the harsh climate, and the unsafe living conditions where most of them are kept in very small rooms, otherwise temporary containers. We can see the containers where we carry the goods and other things. Those temporary containers were made as temporary residing places, and these Indians were permitted to stay in that moving temporary containers as living space. And other violation is of wage discrimination. Indians are discriminated in wages with other laborers from Indonesia, from Philippines, from other Arab countries on the basis of religion or racism, etc. And the other violation is a religious suppression, where you don't have the right to profess your own religion. You have to do whatever festivals or whatever it is, you have to do it inside your room. And you cannot carry any idols. If you are a Hindu, you cannot carry even a photograph. They will throw out in the airport only. And you cannot celebrate any of your festivals. If you want to celebrate inside your room. So these are the religious oppressions that you face in the Gulf countries. And other is the victimization of the female migrants. Most of the migrants who are working there as domestic maids, they are victimized, they are abused, they are forced into prostitution, they were beaten up, they were burned, and most of them were not paid for their wages and for long working hours also. And also arbitrary detention. If you are found to be a criminal, you are detained in incommunicable detention, racism, discrimination, threats to life, physical and personal security of migrants, torture and other cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment, enforced disappearances. These are the major human rights violations of Indian migrants in the Gulf. On top of it, there is no redressal mechanism at all, because West Asia is known for its own human rights violations of its own citizens. In that case, we cannot expect a country ruled by monarchy to give rights for the migrants who are migrating there. So among all these violations, I would like to talk about the human trafficking, which is a major issue coming up these days. And it was found that most of the traffickers and the victim, they originate from the same country. That means the Indians who are traveling abroad are being trafficked by their own Indians. So if you look into the form of trafficking, it is happening in 4 ways. One is recruiting, transporting, transferring and harboring. So at the recruiting stage, it is done by the recruiting agents who are placed inside India majorly. For example, a person from Kerala, 4 persons from Kerala, they were aged 22 to 25. Those males, they were promised for a good job with a decent pay of 8,000 to 10,000 a month in Saudi Arabia. And they had to transit through Dubai. So they were landed in Dubai. Soon they landed, their passports were confiscated. And for 3 months they were kept in tourist visa. And then they have to extend the visa, but they didn't extend the visa, but they were transported via land into Iraq. And in Iraq, they were sold to the US soldiers, US cantonments, where they were even used for all sort of menial jobs they were given, cleaning the toilets, cooking food, washing their socks, washing their feet, etc. And even sometimes under a crisis situation, they have to use the ammunition also. And at the end, they couldn't come back from Iraq. They were caught by the Iraqi government. And since Iraqis, they have a soft corner for the Indians, they are sent back to Dubai, where their passports were held back by the employer and they were rescued back. So this is one of the major causes for the human trafficking, where at the recruitment level itself, human trafficking is happening. And second is the transporting. As I explained you, most of the human trafficking around the world, one is in the East Asian countries, and the other major area is the Middle Eastern countries, where most of the humans were trafficked because for the purpose of servitude, forced labor, enslavement, quasi-slavery practices, prostitution, organ trade, organized crimes, For all these purposes, the Indians were used, they were trafficked from the destination to the host countries. And means of trafficking are by use of threat or force and other forms of coercion by giving dreams of about higher wages, like a person who is hardly earning 2,000 rupees back home, when he is given a promise of 8,000 rupees to 10,000 rupees per month for the same job what he is doing here, or for some job, some construction job or a mason or something, sure anybody would tend to move abroad. But before moving abroad, they have to pay a higher price to the agents. That is, for one person, I have surveyed more than 3 districts in Tamil Nadu, and the outcome of that survey, I found that a laborer who wants to move to Gulf, he has to pay minimum 60,000, 40,000 to minimum 60,000 to 80,000 to get his passport, visa, NOC and health checkup done, including the air ticket. So, what means he would earn for 60 to 80,000 rupees? No, he would not have seen this much money in his own lifetime. So he borrows or he sells his houses, he sells his wife's jewelries, he borrows from money lenders, he borrows from here and there, and he pays the recruiting agents. He gets a visa, passport, everything done, and he moves to Gulf, where within 3 months he will be in an unimaginable position. He would not have imagined. He was completely dumped. And this human trafficking is very difficult to overcome such crimes, and bilateral cooperation to tackle crime at the source level is needed. So here I would highlight that the Indian government should impose a very strict rules on the recruiting agents by giving the procedure. Already the procedures are there. I will not say that there are no procedures. Already the procedures are there, but more stricter rules for the recruiting agents. Proper training should be done for them, to whom they are recruiting, how they are placing the jobs, and how they are following up. Monitoring of the recruiting agents as well as the employers, as well as the migrants should be done. So, what are the main challenges that are facing for this human trafficking is combating discrimination. This is a main thing related to intolerance against the migrants, because racist attacks also is happening in the Gulf countries because of their non-national status. Because in the Gulf you cannot get any nationality, you cannot get citizenship. It's just the contractual. It's a hanging population only. You go for 2 years, you have to come back. If you're staying even one day beyond that 2 years period, you are an illegal migrant, and you can't imagine the fine rates of fine that you have to pay for staying illegally. For a day, he has to pay more than 200 dirhams for UAE. That is, you can convert into 14 rupees. So it's coming around 2,800 rupees, Indian rupees, if you're staying one day beyond your visa period. So combating discrimination should be done, and criminalization of the irregular migration. So if you look at it, look at the migration from India to the Gulf, it's very loose loophole, loop is there. You know, I can say that there is a social network which is playing a major role in this migration. One guy from one village will go, he goes there, he undergoes all tortures and everything, but one major reason is he sends back the money, he remits the money. If he's earning 8,000, he spends around 2,000 rupees and he sends back 6,000, which is like a monthly income, which is like a government job for them. So because of this remittances, what he's sending back, and which he could save there, because he would be staying only in labor camps, he is not going outside. He will, most of them are kept in labor camps, most of them are kept in captives. And so that they don't have any social life at all, so they save the money and they send it back. So this is becoming a regular income, and you can see the changes in their economic development in that household. So seeing that household, he will take back another 2 neighbors, his own kins. So there is a social network or kinship network that is happening in this Gulf migration. So this network, this helps them to secure job there. Initially they go on a tourist visa for 3 months, and then they get job somewhere privately, and then they get the visa to change the visa into a labor visa. So this, in between these 3 months, if they are caught working somewhere, they are taken as irregular migration. But sometimes, in most of the cases, they don't get job within 3 months. So they become the irregular migrants. So this irregular migrants are becoming a major victim of human trafficking, because human trafficking is happening because of irregular migration, but criminalization of irregular migration leads to human rights violation, because most of these countries irregular migration is an illegal act. So most of these people, they don't have the regular documents, and these migrants who doesn't have the regular documents, they become vulnerable to the racist, and they are quick to connect to the organized crime, including drug trafficking, robbery, etc. Their undocumented status makes many migrants vulnerable to the point of becoming easy prey for the criminal networks. So the migration laws has to be revised and reformed to decriminalize irregular migration. And other thing is the double victimization of the trafficked persons. Yeah. So, and I would like to talk about the victimization of the female migrants also. If you consider about the plight of the women migrants, migrant workers at Might, they are given lucrative job opportunities. They are abused by the recruiting agent. Their passports are being confiscated. They extract a lot of work with no rest in a day. They are not allowed to communicate with the family. They were beaten, burns, less food. They were kept in dark room, long hours of work, no break, forced confinement. They are sexually abused by their employers, trafficked, forced into prostitution. They were arrested, detention, and deportation to India. And they were, most of the time, when they raise a voice, they were complained of theft and they were beaten. So I take this platform to raise a voice against those more than 6.5 million Indian workers, because they don't have the right to form a trade union, or they don't have the right to come out and speak for any rights. So we Indians from a democratic country, we have the rights to talk, to form a trade union, to organize a seminar, and to talk about what is happening. So I would like that we should take up the issue to raise our voice against the violations that are being rendered to the Indians in abroad, as well as being a woman. I want this platform, this forum, to pressurize the Indian government to ratify major UN conventions. And here I would like to pressurize on the convention, the ILO Convention number 189, that is for the decent workers of the domestic maids. So we as an Indians, we have been, we came to the roads talking about the one female who has been raped and treated badly in Delhi, and the whole country came out on the roads. But I was shocked, but not that shocked, because before that I have been hearing and reading stories of more worse treatment of Indian women, more than thousands and thousands of Indian women in the Gulf and in Saudi Arabia and in the Kuwait. So at least this forum, we should take an oath that we should pressurize the government to ratify the ILO Convention Law 189. Thank you all.